Hey everybody, welcome to Yoga Detour. I am Cecily and I'll be your instructor today. I'm going to take you through my Build a Bum program because let's face it, whoever wanted to have a flat butt? So roll out your mat and let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start by coming down onto the side of the body. Lying comfortably here, either using your arm to support your head or a block or pillow, just so that we can have the head lined up with the rest of the spine. I have my shoulders here stacked with my hips and my feet here stacked underneath my hips, knees bent. I'm going to try and maintain that hip position the whole time as I bring my top knee up into my chest and start to open that knee up. So we're just going to make some circles here with the top leg in a way that's kind of warming us up, because all the movements that we're going to do here are going to take our leg into different types of alignment so we can get into all those glute muscles and make them all stronger. Let's change direction. Feeling the stabilization from the bottom leg kicking in as well. It's not just hanging out down there. And it's super tempting here to let that top hip roll backward. Let's really pay attention to keeping that hip stacked over the other side. And after that next circle, I'm going to extend that leg all the way out and keep it straight with my foot flexed. Without letting this hip now move around, I'm going to use my hand here to kind of keep it in check. My foot's going to lower down towards the mat, and I'm going to lift my leg, but it's not about getting that leg super high, because if I do that, watch what happens to my hip. See how I got all that kind of creasing happening in my waist? That's the wrong muscle group. We're going to try and keep this area nice and long. So I'm going to keep my hand here, pushing my hip down towards my heel, and I'm just going to lift my leg through that range. And if you have a hard time kind of figuring out where that work needs to come from, see if you can just visualize this whole area of the side bum, that good old side bum that stabilizes our hips. That's what we want to target right here. And now I'm going to let that leg stay up. I'm going to draw a small circle now with the straight leg, as if I'm tracing a circle on the wall across from me. Noticing again that that hip still is stacked. Change direction. Reaching through that heel. Think of growing a longer leg for a second. Really pull out of the hip and reach through that heel. Good. And I'm going to bend it back in. And now work with my rotation, taking that knee and tapping it in toward the floor in front, and then opening the knee and tapping the foot behind me. So it's sort of like a swinging gait. Closes, and then opens back up. And of course, as the knee closes, it's tempting for that hip to want to go with it. So we're going to really try not to move from the pelvis and just to move from the thigh. Good. And I'm going to change that rotation into more of a bike riding action, cycling. So we're going to move the knee up, straighten the leg, send it back, kick the heel in, pull it up, push it down, swing it back, and then think of pedaling backwards. Feeling that work right through the bum, and then bringing the knees back together again. There's really any combination of movements we could do here. So I'm going to give you a moment to switch over to the other side, and you can either repeat exactly what I just did, maybe rewind what you just watched, or you could invent some exercises of your own to target that other side and even yourself out. Then we're going to come back together onto all fours. So as I set the shoulders here over top of my hands, I want to make sure that the hands feel good. So feel free to position the hands so that the wrists are supporting you comfortably. And now I'm going to bring my right knee in toward the chest and create that same circle that we started with when we were lying on our side. So the heel again is squeezing towards the bum, and the knee is directing the movement here while I work to keep my hip stable. And then I'll change the direction, pulling that knee back, lifting it out to the edge, and bringing it back in underneath me. And now on my last one, I'm gonna look to keep the knee in line with my hip. Let's flex the foot for fun. Press the knee a little higher if you can. And if it feels now like you're tipping over to your left side, I'm gonna ask you to look down, pull more weight over into your right hand. Can we just get rid of the left hand altogether and put it on the hip? And balance here, pushing the floor away with your right hand and really lifting that left thigh, sorry, right thigh toward the ceiling. And if you're still not feeling that burn, kick the leg out and bend it back in. Kick the leg out, bend it back in. One more. And then that hand will come down. The knee will come down. Whew. And you can shake out the wrist, take a little break. And again, I'll give you a moment to change sides and even that out. From there, we'll come back up to standing. When you arrive into standing, just notice how things are feeling now that you've given some real attention to these muscles. We're going to use them now in more of a squat position. So I'm going to separate my feet just a little bit wider than my hips and have a little bit of turnout on the toes. Not huge, okay? Maybe 15 degrees. And now the idea is I want to try and stay lined up rather than tipping forward. So really vertical posture. So the first thing to move is going to be my knees and my ankles. And once I feel like I've maxed out the amount my ankle can bend, then my pelvis begins to tip forward. I might reach with my arms. Getting to the point here where I'm more loaded in my heels, see how I can wiggle my toes? And then come back up. So we'll just stay with that level of squat for now, working on bringing the weight back into the heels and standing back up. Down, pause, keep it slow and controlled, and lift one more time. And up. Now we're going to grab a block or any kind of low seat. With the idea being now that the hips are lower than the knees, and I want to train myself to have strength through full range of motion. So that means in my full knee flexion, in my full hip flexion. Arms can reach forward again. And now I want to think of loading my heels just enough to feel my thighs move a little bit more externally as the glutes turn on. So I resist the knees wide and try and press off the block. We'll just do a small press to begin with. And then can we keep the heels even heavier, toes even lighter, and go all the way up. And all the way back down. And all the way back up. And down. If we wanted to progress that even further, look around. Is there anything nearby that has a little bit of weight to it? In the studio today, I have a sandbag. This could be anything. It could be a bag of flour. It could be an actual weight like a kettlebell. Or if you're working out with a child or a baby, those are great to have around as well. So I'm going to hug my weight in toward my chest. Keep my chest lifted. Find the work again of resisting the knees out and driving up. Slowly coming it back down and lifting back up. One more time. Knees and ankles bend first. I keep the core strong. I keep the chest lifted. And I stand back up. Now, of course, there's lots of different squats that we could be doing. But my favorite to really target the glutes is the sumo stance. So I'm going to use my weight again. You can choose to leave it off to the side if that feels better. I have my feet and legs turned out, and I'm going to bring a bit of a corkscrew action into the legs, as if I'm spinning the thighs as my knees bend. So I slowly descend, tracking the knees there over the heels, thinking of keeping the thighs from caving inward, and then pressing back up. Reset the corkscrew, so the whole time I'm thinking of spinning those thighs outward, pausing at the bottom, weight goes into my heels, I press back up. Last one. And up. Sweet. These are just some of the exercises we can do to target that backside. Again, if you sit a lot, if we tend not to pay attention to the things we cannot see behind us, these are the kind of exercises that we want to spend more time doing. Thanks again for joining us today, and I look forward to the next time when we can follow the detour together.